Star Wars Battlefront has always been a big franchise, and each game for its time was a huge deal, especially when they came out. But do the Metacritic scores represent this, or are they just a joke like they usually are? Well, here we are starting off with Battlefront 1, looking at the Metacritic scores here. You can see that the critic score would be an 80, generally favorable, based on 55 critic reviews. This is on Xbox, of course, second best platform, or probably the best platform at the time. I know PC ports weren't great at the time. And if you're going to view all platforms, you see PS2 got an 82, Xbox got an 80, then PC got a 76. And now, in my opinion, for this game, that is a pretty accurate score considering what Battlefront 1 is. Battlefront 1 was a pretty simple game, all things considered, but it was a pretty huge game at the same time. It was one of the first third-person shooting games. Not many games had this. Plus, it had the dynamic vehicles, the huge battles, and just very accurate to the movies with all the sound effects and animations and all that. And in my opinion, I think it was definitely deserving an out of 10 because although it had all these really cool aspects to the gameplay, it was very lacking in features. You had no real features to go through. You had a Galactic Conquest and you had Campaign. The Campaign was as simple as can be. It's basically just instant action. Galactic Conquest had the abilities don't even work, so that was pretty lame. But if we're going to look at what the reviews have to say, so we'll start with Xbox Nation right here. This is probably a biased review because these ones are always biased. They say that Star Wars Battlefront is essentially action figure theater on the television screen, and playing online is like inviting your friends over to take part. And that is a very accurate summary of this. That's exactly how this game feels, although it is a bit unbalanced if you know what you're doing. Another review will say, those accustomed to the adult world of online PC gaming may have reason to sniff at the more streamlined play, but Pandemic has given consoles a whole new genre, pretty much perfectly formed. Okay, no game has ever felt quite so much like playing with Star Wars figures. See, they all say it's like playing with Star Wars figures, and that is a pretty accurate way of putting it, right? And the next one here says, it's Star Wars with a proven and well-executed game concept. And if that's not enough to persuade you, you're able to murder Ewoks. Enjoy. I love he mentions murdering Ewoks. And we'll check out some of the other reviews right here. As you can see, there's 9 mixed reviews, no negative reviews, and 46 positive reviews. Xbox Addict gave it a 94. Great, Combo gave it a 93. Great game worth every penny. If you like massive battles, Star Wars first-person shooters, or vehicles, you would definitely want to check this game out. And I feel like a lot of people don't emphasize the fact that this game was not just a first-person shooter, but it was also a third-person shooter, and that was a pretty big deal for the time. And it was also just, it plays very well for like a third-person game. And there's a couple of like genuine criticisms here. You see, like, I just wish there was a melee attack so I could finally bludgeon an Ewok to death with the butt of my blaster. You could tell this is back in the day when people hated Ewoks and Gungans. I'm a little bit surprised there's no more Ewok hate than Gungan hate. Another one, Battlefront 1 works because it's not an overly complex game. Within the confines of an FPS, you want to learn a lot of buttons and other complex configurations. Exactly, it's a simple game with really good controls, really responsive. World-class Star Wars games are like Endor buses. You want light years for one, then turn up with 12 months of each other. Do the galaxy a favor, buy it now. These are just such reviews of the time. I absolutely love reading them. But now let's try and find one of these lower reviews to see what they had to say. So here we go. We finally got some of these. So these are some of the ones I was looking for to see if they give them general criticisms like this. A decidedly average Star Wars game that is extremely fun as a rental, but wears thin with repeated play. That's completely understandable. As like I said, there's not a lot of content in this game. Although the maps are a lot of fun, the gameplay loop is a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the problem with this game, like I said, there's not enough content to it, and you're pretty much just doing the same thing over and over again. Now, when you're a child, this is like the most fun game ever. And honestly, for me, it still holds up. But maybe that's because I grew up with it. And we'll read another one of these ones. You'll be simply crying out of more after you waltz through the missions on offer in just a few short hours. Exactly my point. What you do get for your money, however, is a solid multiplayer game, and unfortunately short but immensely fun single-player game that is well worth investigating. And that's completely valid. This game does not have enough content, as I said before. That is its biggest issue. Not enough content in the game. Although the game itself is a lot of fun, right? And another one by Stuff. Buy with the knowledge that even the multiplayer mode can at number 146T save some environments from growing. What the fuck was he trying to say? I don't even understand what he was trying to say there. And then there's another one here that says it's a rental game, again, that you play with a bunch of friends. Exactly my point about this game. That's exactly the best way to describe it. And here we go, we're going to get some of the lower reviews here. Unfortunately, the lack of any real depth to the gameplay, random game crashes, and the poorly implemented Xbox Live features makes it too hard to suggest a purchase. And that's way too high of a review for that kind of score. But like, I don't know what he's getting on about the crashes. I literally never let the game crash once more in my life. And we'll go to like the lowest reviews here. So we got a couple 50s, one by GamerFeed. The single player mode gets boring very quickly. The game's frame rate needs improvement, and oftentimes it's difficult to communicate strategies with other players. And that's very valid. Playing online was probably a shit show back in the day with this game without voice chat. It's probably a complete disaster because you had those commands. But say you're playing as the Wookiee, you use your you won't hear anything. And even with the actual commands, like they're not going to listen to them because you just think your guy's just talking, right? And it's a very valid point this person's making. And then this one right here, this guy made a very good point about this. With the amazingly rich heritage that Star Wars has, it's confusing that the music isn't used quite as effectively as it should be. Very fair. The music just kind of randomly plays, but I really like that. And without the context-sensitive moment of the cinematic Star Wars, impact is lost. Replenishing health to the dramatic rumblings of the Imperial Death March doesn't really do it, and sometimes the music just disappears. Okay, I don't understand what he's going on about the music being such a big deal, but I get what he's saying, that there's just not enough depth to this game. You're just kind of just doing the same thing over and over again. You're just kind of shooting people and that. But you got to think about what this game had. For what its time, it was a pretty innovative game. You had the 5 different classes in it, and then you had all these maps, third-person action, like I said before, had hit scan weapons, you had the traveling weapons, whatever that's called, and it was a very good game for its time, in all honesty. And I do think overall these reviews are actually pretty fair. So we're gonna give this one a passing grade here. And the 80 Metacritic score, very valid, 100% valid. So let's go on to Battlefront 2 and see what the critics had to say about that one. Now, and this is where I think it's going to get a lot more divisive. Right off the bat, you'll see that the Metacritic score only went up 3 points, all right? So we're looking at Xbox again, because if you're going to look, Xbox has the most critic reviews out of all of them. So this is why I say it's the most valid. PS2 is 1 score above, so it doesn't really make a difference. So anyways, this is the one with the most points on it, reviews on it, right? And only 3 points higher. So if you play Battlefront 2, you'll know that Battlefront 2 is a huge improvement over the first. There's so much more content, so much to do, more mechanics, a little bit of everything, right? But the critics just say, well, it's just a little bit better, apparently, right? So we're going to get into these reviews. We're going to see what they have to say. We're starting off here. We got Thunderbolt, who said, great fun, but far from perfect, mainly due to a little handful of little niggles. Niggles, what the f? And then we're looking at the other reviews, like Games Radar. They say, a fun run that stays interesting no matter how far you play. It has a share of flaws, but for fans, this is a pretty good game. We're going to go into the full reviews here, so we don't just check out these ones. So before we get into it further, 36 positive, 4 mixed. So as you can see right off the bat, there's only 4 mixed versus like however many Battlefront 1 had. This is quite a few less, right? So we'll get into the reviews here. Game Shark starting off, 100. Nothing gets the gamer close to experience epic battles of Star Wars than this game. Good review. And then there's Next Level Gaming. This is without a doubt the best Star game ever created. Okay, why? Anyways, however you say that, the improved single-player games are worthwhile enough on their own, but if you can find well-connected online matches, multiplayer games will keep you addicted for months. Exactly what I'm saying. The single-player alone is way better. Like, wow. And then we already talked about that one. Team Xbox here. Better than the original in almost every way, which says a lot for LucasArts and Pandemic's commitment to their legion of fans. Space battles and playable Jedi are reason enough to run out and buy Star Wars Battlefront 2, but 32-player online matches don't hurt either. Exactly what I'm saying, man. This game has so much more content. How can it just be 2 points better? There's absolutely no way, right? Then you got Cheat Code Central. With plenty of maps and intriguing campaign missions, Battlefront 2 replay value is already pretty high. Tack on the addictive nature of Xbox Live, and we have a great game that's worth every penny you drop for it. Exactly what I'm saying. Computer and video games. A whopping beautiful example of what Xbox Live can do. It's bigger than the first, it's better than the first, and if there's any justice, it'll be what everyone will be playing come release. Impressive. Most impressive. Official UK Xbox magazine. Right? Then you got Microsoft Xbox World, I think that's what that stands for. With over 20 new Battlefronts on land and space, this is a great sequel with a lot more added features, improving the original tenfold. Right? Everything's just mentioning how much better the game is, how much it adds to it. Right? And then we're going to go down a little bit. We're going to look for some of the lower reviews. So let's look for like these ones right here. Battlefront 2 is a good sequel, but it's got too much in common with the first game to make up the upgrade a no-brainer. What are you talking about, Gaming Age? This game is nothing like the first. You got sprinting, you got multiple new classes, you got space battles, you got Jedis, you got actual new game modes to do. The single player is way better. Like, what is this guy talking about? There's nothing similar to the first game aside from actually the big battles in the Star Wars universe. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, did this guy not even play this game? Because I can tell you right now, if you play Battlefront 2, you'll know Battlefront 2 is nothing like the original. There is so much new stuff added in this game compared to the original. Not even close. That's a really bad review right there. Game Zone. With more playable maps, including the excellent space combat battles and the inclusion of heroes and villains, makes this a particularly satisfying Star Wars game fans will love. Okay, it doesn't say what's wrong with it. So let's kind of go down a little bit further to see if we can find like people who say what's wrong with it. So like Xbox Addict. Let's spend longer than a year developing the next one. After the thrill of wielding the lightsaber, it wore off. Its faults were all too clear. And I can understand that because when you play this game for a while, it does get a little bit old. But I can still play it to this day. I just played it so much, right? The graphics are pretty, the score divine, the story-driven single player is actually cinematic and engaging, and the lag, while annoying at times online, has been greatly reduced from the original. Online, yeah, lag, okay, I see what you're saying, but it's still only a 75. It's a way better game, but 75, like what? Armed with a healthy internet connection, this game will hold at bay the forces of boredom for months. Switch off that connection, though, and witness the biggest turn to the lame side since the new Star Wars movies. No way, man. No way. Again, you got so much content. You're playing on Xbox. You got four-player split screen on this game on Xbox. You didn't have that on Battlefront 1. Even on Xbox, you didn't have that. You got 4-player split screen, man. How can it get any better than that? Like, that is so awesome. Here's IGN, my favorite. And so more than its predecessor, the faults and quirks of Battlefront 2 stand out and become glaring because the new ads feel unpolished, while the old grites manage to rear their heads for a second time. I cannot agree with you at all there, IGN. This game is so much better than the first game. Palgian. What the hell is Palgian? While the game remains fairly much the same, the new space battles are a real thrill. It's fairly much the same? Have you even played this fucking game, man? It's just a pity that the hero system that appeared to be so promising really just serves to be unbalanced the experience. And that's true, it is pretty unbalanced, the hero system, to be quite honest. They're extremely overpowered, especially if you know what you're doing. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you just run and press attack, you'll just destroy people. And then here we go, we're going on to the two bad reviews here. Eurogamer. The acute sense of excitement and precision in combat of the Halo games is absent. Likewise, the intensity of being in a firefight delivered by Battlefront 2. All the explosions and laser fire feel a lot like window dressing, even if the game does have some attractive scenery. That's actually a fair review, I'm not going to lie, because you are comparing it to Halo. It is true the combat's not as good as Halo, obviously, but you have like all this content in the game. And yes, content doesn't always make the game better, but you have all this content in the game on top of it being a really fun game with multiple different game modes, a good online, a good single player, not to the level of Halo obviously, but like, yeah, I get what this guy is saying though. That is actually a pretty fair review. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, unlike these other people, like, oh, it's just the same game as before. It's like, have you even played it? It is not the same game before. And then we got the last one here, NetJack. Decidedly mediocre. Being able to play the Jedi is definitely one of the strongest qualities, but it really doesn't make up for a really lackluster, massive Battlefield shooter. I can understand that one right there, because if he doesn't like the way the game plays, maybe he didn't like anything else about it, because the heroes were like to him the only thing that really got him. Oh, it's gone. RIP. I wanted to see that original review. So yeah, that original review is gone, unfortunately. She's gone, so NetJack doesn't exist anymore. We can't see exactly what the guy said. But yeah, these reviews were, the bottom two that were valid, and the rest of them were just like, did you even play the same game I'm playing? Like, it's just like the original. Like, I've always said that a million times, but like, Battlefront 2 is nothing like the original, aside from the fact it's a big Star Wars Battlefront open world game, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? Big battlefields and all that. It is nothing like the original. Aside from that, you know, like the people who say that haven't played this game clearly. They just like played a little bit from like, oh, blah, 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 right? So these ones, nowhere close to what fucking this game is actually like, because like we never had a game like this ever again. Let's just put it that way, all right? You can say the new EA Battlefronts were similar, mostly Battlefront 2. I wouldn't say that though. Those games they're a completely different kind of game than these were, and like these games for their time, they're still cherished and played to this day. That's just how good these games are. So overall, this one gets a fail. Now moving on to Battlefront Renegade Squadron to finish this video out here, we're gonna be looking at these last couple of reviews here. And this game is not one I grew up with, so I'm not super nostalgic about it, but I have played it obviously, and I played it a little bit while I was growing up because I didn't have a PSP was the thing, right? And it's not bad, and it's a fun game. It's just like, it's not that good. Like, you know, you're better off playing like fucking, I don't know, You're like, nowadays there's no point in playing this, right? You know what I mean? Like, Elite Squadron's better, obviously. I like this game better than Elite Squadron, but like some people say Elite Squadron's better. And well, anyways, who cares? We're gonna go into the Metacritic scores here and see what they have to say. See what they say is valid, I guess you can say. And so we'll start out with electronic gaming here. They said, but while multiplayer rocks, the appeal of the campaign and character customization lasts as long as Darth Maul's screen time. Very true. Very, very true. Because, like, the thing is, multiplayer is good, but it's good because of the fact you can play portably online wherever you want Battlefront, right? And, yeah, exactly as that. It gets old fast. Multiplayer is simply outstanding. Okay, but what else? PS Magazine, like, come on, man. And IGN, is it perfect? Not by a long shot, with the block graphics and love it or hate it gameplay are overshadowed by the customization options, extensive online modes, and the satisfaction that comes from taking out an AT-AD while on foot. What? Does it mean like portably? Like, I don't understand what IGN is trying to say as usual. But like that first one was completely fouled. Like these ones, I don't know what these people are playing. The gameplay variety is second to none with a good cross-referencing of gameplay genres. You can also expect some surprises and some fabulous Star Wars characters make an appearance. May this game be with you. Yeah, no, it's not that good, man. Like the controls are shit. Graphics suck. It gets old pretty fast. You know, for the time it's fun, but like that's all it is. It's fun. Anyways, Renegade Squadron scores for being a great game that offers hours of satisfying multiplayer while simultaneously using its license to its fullest potential and improving it over its predecessor. Yeah, no, I cannot agree on that. Not one bit. Overall, it's a solid game, right? Renegade Squadron improved on its predecessor in almost every way. What the fuck are these people talking about? It improves the customization, sure, but the controls are shit. The maps are hardly new. The campaign is shit. Like, what? Did we play the same game? The deep customization while the user's tweaking for hours. And online deep customization. What are you talking about? The customization is not that deep, man. It has it, but that's the thing. It just has the customization, and that's all this game has to it. Is that it has customization, and it's a Battlefront on the go. Like woohoo! But like it's like I said, anyone claiming for the PSP has no game should probably take a look at this one. That's a very good point. All right, so let's kind of go. I kind of want to see the positive ones more than anything because this game's easy to criticize. So GameZone, they said Star Wars fans will certainly find a lot to like about Renegade Squadron, and even though the controls can be a bit frustrating at times, very true. All the changes and fun game modes make this one worth a look. That's valid. Not an 8 out of 10 valid, but that's valid. The Game Boys. Overall, Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron is a pretty solid title and should not be overlooked by any gamer from fans of the Star Wars saga to gamers who just haven't owned a PSP. Valid, but not an 8 out of 10. The single player portion is a little one on the shallow side. What with the brief campaign and the one night stand nature of the Galactic Conquest mode, but the multiplayer portion is right with replay value, as it always is. But again, like that's not like an 8 out of 10. That seems like a 7 out of 10 review. You know what I mean? These are too positive, these reviews. No, Massive Leap of Battlefront 2 more the same as welcome 79. No. That's like a 6 out of 10 if it's the same fucking game, man. It's Battlefront, but it's also the closest thing to console's version so far, making it an evolution. There you go. With a good story, decent controls, and great space battles, Rebellion hits more than it misses, but there's still a lot to improve. Perfect analogy, horrible score. Horrible score. Do not a 78 at all. Let's look for like the most negative ones now. So the lowest this game got was a 50, which is shocking because that's also the lowest the other games got. Now it does have quite a few more negative reviews, but let's look at these ones. Despite fixing the major problem of its portable predecessor, Battlefront 2, right. I forgot that was even on PSP. Renegade Squadron feels like a cheap cash in with ugly visuals and simplistic gameplay. Exactly what I thought when I played this game, I'm not going to lie. There's still only about 6 hours of solo play here. How good return to 35 quid outlay, whatever that means. The single player campaign is on the short side, and the AI definitely isn't the most tricked out droid in the sand color, but the metal unlock challenges multiplayer definitely give this a shoot game since Space Legs. That is a very valid review. Thank you, Game Revolution. That is probably the most valid review I've seen so far on here, to be honest with you. That's exactly the score you should give it. It should be like a 58, which is not a bad score. It's just not that good of a game. And that's exactly it. Right? Despite effort scrapes the barrel more than it feels the force. Blah, blah, blah. Right? You get the point here. Most of these reviews are just like all over the place. They're like, oh, the multiplayer is pretty good, so 9 out of 10. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. And like, this is a fun game, but it's just like, it's a fun game on PSP for a couple of hours, and that's all you're gonna get out of this game. You know what I mean? It's not a 73. I don't know why it has a 73. Yeah, these reviews, these do not get a passing, not at all. Just like Battlefront 2. Battlefront 1 had like the only accurate reviews out of all of these. And yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, what did we learn today? we learned that Metacritic sucks.